Welcome everyone to the SportsLibs podcast. Super excited today. Finally, some Thursday night football. We're going to preview the game tonight. I also got my rookie running back rankings. I'm going to talk about some receivers who I absolutely love and also touch on the quarterback position and the tremendous value that you can get in the mid to later rounds.
SportsLibs, where we rap sports analysis.
Thank you guys for joining. We have a lot to cover today. I'm super excited. Finally, some football. Seemed like forever. Even though it's preseason, a lot of fantasy stuff. A lot of fantasy relevant players are going to be playing tonight. Beginning with the Chicago Bears. I'm not sure that there's a team that's more fantasy relevant than the Bears. I'm really excited to see what Coach Nagy does with this team. I mean, he's got so many weapons, so many offseason acquisitions. I want to see how Mitch Trubisky, who I think has a ton of talent, further develops now in his second year after being handcuffed by John Fox, who's just allergic to offense. So it's going to be really, really curious to see what happens with him because remember, this is the same coach that, allowed Alex Smith to have a career year last year. So I think Mitch Trubisky is definitely more talented than Alex Smith. And Mitch Trubisky right now, he could definitely be this year's version of Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a quarterback I drafted in both my leagues last year around the 13th round. Mitch Trubisky is currently going around round 11, it looks like here. And he could possibly be a starting quarterback. Even though I think this could be a running team, obviously they have Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen, two running backs I'm really excited about. I think the running game will actually help the passing game and open up, some of these lanes for these receivers like Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller. I don't think Taylor Gabriel is going to be that relevant. He'll have his game or whatever. And actually, I'm not quite as high on Allen Robinson as maybe some other people. I think he'll have his big games, but right now Allen Robinson seems to be going in the early third round, which I think is kind of high for me because I have some receivers in the mid to later rounds that I really, really like that could provide you tremendous value and possibly, actually I would probably say end up higher than Allen Robinson does this year. Of course, Jordan Howard, he's going right now in the mid-second round. I think he's going about appropriate value for him, but the guy I'm in love with, and I think could even be possibly better than Jordan Howard, even if the numbers are the same, or even if Jordan Howard ends up with more points, because he will be the red zone running back. But Tariq Cohen is going to be super consistent, super value. 7th round, this guy to me is going to end up an RB2. He was almost an RB2 last year with John Fox, who didn't know what the heck he was doing with his running backs. Almost ended up an RB2. So there's no doubt in my mind he's definitely going to be an RB2, possibly even a high RB2. Super consistent. Remember, when you're talking about PPR backs, you only need to catch a couple balls, 4 or 5 balls, maybe 6. 40, 50 yards receiving, and then, 20, 30 yards running, and you have yourself almost 15 points. So it's not that hard to end up RB2 in this type of offense with that type of coach who's going to be, doing all types of innovative stuff with Tariq Cohen. So he's definitely somebody. I don't know actually if there's a player that's going to provide you more value than Tariq Cohen in the 7th round, but I do expect his ADP to be going up. Now, to a less interesting team, but still interesting nevertheless, is their opponent, the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco, the usual off-season stuff. They say he's looking great. I've never been a big Flacco fan, but apparently he's motivated, and he should be. I mean, they drafted Lamar Jackson, who I'm absolutely a huge fan of. I definitely think he could be this year's Deshaun Watson if Flacco struggles or gets injured. He ran a pro-style offense. Not only could he run, but he can throw the ball with tremendous accuracy. Alex Collins going in the mid-4th round. When you're talking PPR leagues, I'm not that crazy about guys like Alex Collins, because if they don't get 100 yards or they don't get a touchdown, and in this day's NFL, 100 yards is hard to do, then, he's not going to provide you a ton of value. But I think mid-4th round is fair value for him anyway. Michael Crabtree is definitely a guy I'm high on. Remember, Flacco always has his go-to receiver, that receiver he falls in love with. It's been in the past, Steve Smith. Mike Wallace had a huge year after having some bad years in previous stops. And I think this year will be no different. Michael Crabtree in the 5th round, he always has a nose for the end zone. I think will provide you tremendous value. He's somebody I would target. John Brown, if he stays healthy, he might do you good. I'm not, I'm done with him. I love John Brown, but I'm just not, confident he can stay healthy, especially he has an ongoing condition with the sickle cell. Hayden Hurst. Now, here's a guy that could be a sleeper, especially at a position that's really, really tough to find value, because outside of, Kelsey, Gronk, Zach Ertz, it's really going to be tough. And actually, I forgot to mention, Trey Burton is a guy who I'm definitely targeting in the 7th or 8th round, even if you have to reach a little bit. Trey Burton, you saw what Kelsey did in Nagy's offense in Kansas City. Trey Burton, outside of that top tier tight end, he's somebody I'm very high on. And Hayden Hurst, Flacco does like to use his tight end. Remember, this guy was a 1st round pick, so the talent is there. If you want to take a flyer on a guy in your late rounds, if you strike out on the top tier tight ends or on a Burton, I think Hayden Hurst, is a guy who can possibly provide you value. All right, moving quite along here.
Before you get to the rookie running backs, Gibson wants to know, how do you feel about Todd Gurley?
How do I feel about Todd Gurley? Todd Gurley is arguably the most talented running back in the league. The only thing that could stop Todd Gurley is the only thing that could stop any running back. So I think he should be the 1st overall pick. He's going to be in the most potent offense. Now, he has gotten a lot of carries the past couple years, so that is a concern, his workload. But, the guy's a beast. As long as he's healthy, he is the best running back in my opinion. All right, and moving on to running backs and rookie running backs, the guy everybody's obsessed with, and I'm even thinking about getting this guy 1st overall pick if I get the 1st overall pick. I don't know what my picks are going to be in my leagues, but it's Saquon Barkley, man. And it's Saquon Barkley. Other than the obvious, this guy's got insane talent, but he's got the intangibles. He's got the work ethic, and most of all, guys, this is something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. Who is coaching these players? Which is why I love the Bears so much, which is why I love Barkley so much. Pat Shurmur knows offense, he knows running backs, and he's going to line them up everywhere. You saw what he did with Dalvin Cook before he got injured, which, by the way, I am insanely high on this year. But Barkley, he's in that conversation. I have no problem with somebody taking Barkley number 1. The talent, and again, when you're dealing with PPR, you want running backs who are going to catch the ball. They're going to do all types of stuff with this guy. Having Odell Beckham on his team, who draws so much attention. You can't guard everybody. You got Ingram, you got Sterling Shepard. The only part I hate about this team is Eli. I'm not an Eli fan. I think he sucks, quite frankly. But Barkley's going to make even Eli look like a decent quarterback. Love, love, love Barkley. He's number 1 on my list. He's number 1 on everybody's list. Number 2, it's not so obvious. And I think number 2 through number 5, when it comes to the rookie rankings, are interchangeable. But as of right now, I like Darius Geis. This guy is, the only thing is, he's going kind of high for me. He's going, I think, in a lot of leagues, in the 3rd round, which is not high, but it's about equal value. Now, the reason I like Darius Geis so much now is because Chris Thompson doesn't look like he's going to be back to November, and he's a speed guy. You never know how these guys are going to come back from injury. I personally got to talk to Chris Thompson when I was at the Fantasy Football Draft Convention. He didn't sound too confident. By the way, he's a really small guy, by the way. I can't believe, he's a little bit bigger than me, and he plays for the NFL, which is crazy. But Chris Thompson, I'm not so sure he's even going to be relevant this year. So Darius Geis goes up on my board, and I saw some interesting stats from one of the ESPN guys. Said if you combine all the Redskins running backs production last year, they would have combined to be in the top 10 RB1 status. So Darius Geis, I'm not a fan of Perrine or whatever, Rob Kelly. I don't think there's much competition there. This guy, he's short, he's stout, and I really like his background story because it tells you a lot about his character. He's a tough guy. He's been through some tough upbringing, and I really like him. With a quarterback like Alex Smith, they don't have a lot of receiving weapons. They're going to have to rely on the run. I really like Darius Geis. But again, the next guy on my list is Royce Freeman. He very well could be number 2 himself. This guy is a truck. And I even like his path to superstardom more than Geis because Devontae Booker is trash. This whole thing that there's real competition between him and Booker, that's just so you don't just hand the keys to the guy. But Devontae Booker is trash. Royce Freeman, I do expect his ADP to be going up. Right now it's around the 5th round. That's going to go up. But even if it goes up to the 4th or 3rd round, he's still going to provide you tremendous value. Big on Royce Freeman. Because, again, Case Keenum, he's a good quarterback, but it's not like they're going to have Case Keenum throwing the ball 40 times, at least if they want to have any level of success. That's 3, 4. All right, my 4th running back here is Ronald Jones. I feel like I'm missing somebody, though. Okay, 4th running back here is Ronald Jones, okay? Now, again, this guy could end up being right behind Barkley. I don't see Ronald Jones as a guy that's going to carry the ball 20-plus times, but I do see Ronald Jones as being a guy that's going to make the most out of his touches. He could get about 15 touches, and with his breakaway speed, he has big play-making ability. Now, the one question I have about him is he's already hurt. I think he hurt himself at the combine, had a pulled hammy or something like that. And that's my worry about these speed guys. And that's why I like a guy like Geis, because they're low to the ground. They got these huge legs. Same thing with Barkley. They're durable. But when you're dealing with a guy like Rojo, injuries do concern me. And if they can keep his touches down, Tampa's going to be a passing team, but they do know how to utilize the running backs. They've had good success at that position. I like Rojo, but the injury factor. Same thing with Sony Michel. Already another speed guy. I love Sony Michel. Belichick will drive you crazy. I think Sony Michel is going to be one of those guys that might get dropped later on, even in waivers. And then, the last 5 games, he's going to win you a championship. He has that type of level of talent. But when you're dealing with these speed guys, my concern is, these soft tissue injuries that tend to happen. So Sony Michel, if you could get him around 6 to 8, I like him. But if you're going to be trying to get him in that Royce Freeman range, that 4th or 5th round, I don't like that. Rojo, if you could get him around late 4th, 5th, I would feel more comfortable around the 5th. But running backs are at a premium. Everybody picks them up. So it's going to be hard to do that. Boston Scott, he's been gaining waves in preseason, or not preseason, but training camp. This guy, I did some research on him, and he is a Darren Sproles clone. And I'm starting to come down from, originally I had a man crush on Kamara. He helped me win both my leagues, him and Gurley last year. I love Kamara, but there's just so many running backs now in New Orleans, and I do think they're going to try to carve out a role for Boston Scott. So I'm kind of coming down on Kamara a little bit, but coming down to maybe like from first pick to like 6 or 7, so it's not that much of a calm down. But Boston Scott, I do see this guy getting like 5 to 7 touches, which is not a lot, but I do see him getting on the field, and that's 5 to 7 touches less than Kamara is going to get. Plus, I do think defenses are going to scheme a lot better now for Kamara, so I am a little more down on him, but not a ton. He's still Kamara. If you could get him 6th, 7th pick in the first round, I still think you're going to have tremendous value. Moving on to wide receivers now. As we all know, Stephon Diggs signed a contract. Now, this is, it has to do more with, like, management and stuff, but I don't see why the Minnesota Vikings felt the need to give him $14 million per year, which even if he has a monster year, that was going to be his ceiling anyway. To give him that with him not proving he could stay durable doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Where he's going right now, I think he's going like the 3rd round. I definitely like Thielen a lot more just because he's a lot safer. Now, if Diggs stays healthy, he's a wide receiver 1 with Kirk Cousins and that offense with Dalvin Cook. But, when you're picking that high, the most important thing for me is always going to be injuries and durability. So, just know when you're dealing with Stephon Diggs, there's a lot of risk involved, but it could be a high risk, high reward situation. But again, it goes back to those speed guys. Those speed guys, the John Browns, those guys tend to get hurt because they rely so much on speed, and it just takes one false move for a hammy to pop or, a quad to pull or something like that. So I do worry about that. The Minnesota offense, though, oh my God. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be he's my MVP, actually, in that offense with those weapons. Really like him. Some other receivers, this is what's cool because I mentioned earlier before about Allen Robinson and picking him so high. To me, Jamison Crowder right now is going in the 8th round. This guy was pretty decent last year. He was kind of let down, but he had some injury issues himself. But remember, guys, Alex Smith does not have a big gun. And now, even more so, with Doxson out, Jamison Crowder's a slot guy. They're going to be throwing those short passes. He's going to be a PPR monster. He's going to flirt with leading the leagues in targets and receptions. Mark my words. He's going to be that good. Jamison Crowder is going to be such a solid WR2. He's going right now the 8th. He might move up to the 6th or 7th. I would even go as high as picking him 5th, 6th round. Because that's the thing. Don't be scared to reach for guys. That's one thing. People always make fun of me every year. Bro, you reach for him. You reach for him. You know what? If I like a guy, I'm going to go get him. Right now, Tariq Coleman, he's going 7th. I'll pick him in the 5th. Right now, Jamison Crowder is going 8th. I'll pick him in the 5th. I don't care what you guys think. I don't care what the experts think. I know what I know. And Alex Smith does not have a big gun. They got to throw for somebody. He's going to be in the slot. Jamison Crowder, huge man crush. Another guy who I might like just even a little bit more than Jamison Crowder, because this guy has proven quarterbacks don't matter. The Jets have had the most garbage quarterbacks, and all he does is produce. Robbie Anderson in the 7th, another guy I like better than Allen Robinson in the 3rd. They got to spread the ball around. And Anthony Miller is another guy I really like on the Bears, and if you could get him really late, 13th, 14th round, I would take a flyer on him. But, guys, Robbie Anderson in the 7th, another guy, I would pick him in the 5th. You guys got so many options here in the mid rounds when it comes to receivers. Only worry about getting a top tier receiver. And because there's also good running back value, I would love to get a DeAndre Hopkins in the 1st round. If I don't get like a Saquon Barkley, if I don't feel comfortable with Alvin Kamara or whatever, DeAndre Hopkins is going to do work. So if you can get DeAndre Hopkins and then go running back, and then in these 5th, 6th rounds, pick a receiver, another receiver, and then you get to the quarterback position. Because look at this, guys. The quarterback position, Cousins, who is my MVP favorite, they're going to throw the ball a ton. He's going in the 7th round. Cousins, to me, is a top 5 quarterback. No question about it. Mahomes. I know everybody's freaking out. He had like 7 picks and 3 preseason games. Who the fuck cares, guys? He's going in the 9th round. Andrew Luck's going in the 7th round. I expect that to rise probably 5th or 6th, maybe even 4th if they want to reach. But if you guys are picking a quarterback before the 7th round, shame on you. And if you guys really, remember I told you, Mitch Trubisky going in the 11th round. Derek Carr is going in the 10th round. Gruden loves to throw, and that's another guy I like. Jordy Nelson, he's going to do some work. Don't think he's washed up. Gruden took a Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was done for. He should retire. Tim Brown. He made these old receivers with his little slant patterns into top 10, 15 PPR fantasy receivers. That was a long time ago, so I don't know what they ended up. But they both ended up being in the Pro Bowl. I know that. And they went to the Super Bowl, and he took a Rich Gannon. This guy was a journeyman quarterback, and he made him an MVP. A guy like Derek Carr, he's going to be a QB1. Mark my words, guys. Gruden knows offense. Gruden will throw the ball. Jordy Nelson is going to be a WR2 this year. Mark my words. And Amari Cooper is going to be a WR1. Both of them are going to provide you tremendous value. I promise you guys. Okay? So that's what I have for you guys today. A couple of guys I want to touch on too before I leave here is, you know, this guy's been, a lot of people have been talking about him, and I got the chance to do some research, is Kalen Ballage. That's a sticky situation with him and Keon Drake, because Drake was a guy I really liked. He really turned it on last year. Now, don't be scared to get a running back in a committee, because outside of your Zekes, outside of your, you know, Gurleys, Le'Veon Bells and stuff, there's really, really few 3-down backs. There's like 5 or 7 or something like that. And actually, when you're in a committee, that helps you, because some of these other guys will soften up the middle so the premier running backs can do work. Miami, I think they're going to be down some games. So Keon Drake's going to be heavily involved in that offense. I just don't – if he starts slipping to the 5th, I think it's a steal. But I don't believe in handcuffs. But Kalen Ballage, this guy is a truck. He's like 215 pounds, runs like a 4.45, something like that. Blazing speed. Doesn't even make sense for somebody that big to have that. And he's got great hands. So I did my research on him. If you get a Drake, you're going to have to get a Ballage as a handcuff. I don't like doing handcuffs, but that's one of the few situations where you really want the handcuff. But if Drake starts to slip and you need a running back, he could, you know, provide you value. Don't be scared just because they have another good running back, because a lot of teams have 2 good running backs. Look at Kamara. Kamara was 3rd in the league, and Ingram was like 5 or something. So 2 running backs could work. And then I had some questions, too, about Kareem Hunt. Now, Kareem Hunt, I think, finished top 5 last year. I do not expect that. I expect him to be a low RB1 because Nagy had a lot to do with him turning it up at the end of the year. Andy Reid's just weird when it comes to running backs. Kareem Hunt will have games where he has like 30 points. And what I really like about Kareem Hunt is that offense is going to be ridiculous. With Pat Mahomes, Sammy Watkins. I mean, Mahomes could run it. He could sling it. He's one of the guys I'm really, really high on. But Kareem Hunt is also going to have some duds, and it's not going to be really because of him. It's going to be more because of Andy Reid. He's going to probably give some goal line touches to Spencer Ware. So Kareem Hunt, he's going to be more of a back-end RB1 for me. Go ahead.
Fantasy Teller wants to know about Leonard Fournette.
Okay, Leonard Fournette. I love Leonard Fournette's talent. I'm not sure I would pick him in the first round, though. And Leonard Fournette, and one of the things, the most important thing when it comes to fantasy is injuries. And Leonard Fournette has a history of injuries through college, through last year. Now, I like what I'm hearing. He's lighter, everything like that. Now, Leonard Fournette is one of those guys, he could be a girly. Leonard Fournette can be the number 1 running back in the league. Talent-wise, this guy could catch it. He's fast, he's big. But I worry about the injuries. And if you do get a Leonard Fournette, if you decide to pick him at the end of the first round, that's kind of a good value for him because of the upside is so great. But I worry. And I would definitely, you're definitely going to have to either go a top-tier receiver in the second round, which is cool because you have a back-to-back. So if you could get a Leonard Fournette, go with the ODB, but then you're going to have to turn around that third round and get another, you know, really, really solid running back like a Royce Freeman, a Geis, another guy like that who could potentially be an RB1 because there is some risk involved. But Leonard Fournette, love the talent. If you could get him at the end of the first round, top of the second, you know, he can really do some work. What about anybody? Any other questions or whatnot? All right, guys, that's what I got for you guys today on the podcast. As always, if you have any questions, if you want to hear any topics, feel free to DM me, comment on any post. I'm going to be bombarding you guys with information and daily fantasy raps and things like that because there's so much that's going to be happening the next few weeks. There's so much movement that's going to be happening too with the ADP due to, you know, these preseason games and people just busting out. And we'll try to decipher what's real and what's not because, you know, you can have a 60-yard run and then all of a sudden everybody falls in love with you. But is it real? Is that 60-yard run against fourth stringers really relevant? All right, guys. Other than that, make sure to follow me on social media at SportsLibs, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. I'm out.